this new PBS NewsHour NPR Marist poll that shows that Americans are split, not surprisingly, on who to blame for this government shutdown. So joining us now is PBS NewsHour congressional producer Kyle Midura in DC to talk about the poll and the latest on what's happening on Capitol Hill. So break down the poll numbers for us. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so the big top line that really stands out as we look at these numbers is 38%. That is the proportion of the respondents to our poll who said that Republicans would be at fault for this shutdown. Next up, both sidesism. Both sides to blame here. Democrats coming in at 27%. I will say we spoke with one of the individuals who took this poll, and they put it pretty bluntly. They all look like idiots. When you look at how Democrats and Republicans were responding, very tribal response. Democrats blaming Republicans, Republicans blaming Democrats. But it got a little bit more interesting when you dug a little further into those responses rather. Independents saying far and away they blame Republicans, then both. Democrats coming in just under 20%, so far below the other two in the minds of independents.
Okay, so Republicans have reiterated something that I just want to clear up is blatantly not true. They are saying Democrats want to get health care for illegal immigrants. That is illegal. There is no allowing for that in our country, not Medicare, not Medicaid. It simply cannot happen. So take that off the table. What are the two issues that the sides are dug in on?
Yeah, so just quickly on the healthcare issue, while federal dollars cannot flow directly to undocumented immigrants' healthcare, there are provisions that allow for legal migrants to be covered in varying capacities. The other element here that is really key to the Republican argument on this front is they say, well, Democratic states have somewhat gamed the system. This is a tax known as the provider tax. It hits hospitals. Essentially, they get back every dollar and more that they get paid in taxes, and that those funds then allow those states, we're thinking states like New York, California, to go ahead and fund some minimal coverage of undocumented immigrants, certainly not the Cadillac plans that the president has spelled out. And essentially here, Democrats are looking to relitigate fights they've lost where Republicans were able to get their agenda through. They have control of the House, they have control of the Senate, but in the Senate, you frequently need 60 votes. There are times when it's just 50. And so Republicans were able to push through many of the president's signature victories at that 50 vote standard. So Democrats are looking to reverse changes that are supposed to be coming to Medicaid, work requirements, basically putting more roadblocks in the way of people getting care under Medicaid. They're also looking to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies that are due to expire at the end of the year. And while those won't expire until the end of the year, notices are going out now. People are figuring out what they're supposed to be paying now, and that's going to be based on those subsidies expiring. Republicans have been saying that, look, we can go ahead and negotiate this later. In the meantime, we need to fund the government. Democrats say you guys weren't negotiating ahead of time.
Right. And so, part of it, independents seem to blame both sides equally. When the Democrats were in charge, they talked about not holding up the continuing resolution because of policy issues. Now the Republicans have the majority, and they're saying that they don't want to hold it up because of policy issues. But how close are they to getting some sort of resolution or agreement for future concessions as it relates to healthcare, but just getting this now to keep the government continuing to run?
We're starting to see conversations bubble up more from the rank and file than at the leadership level. Those conversations are largely surrounding the ACA subsidies that are due to expire. There are going to be discussions about how to potentially phase them out in the future, how far to extend them, etc. But ultimately, rank and file would have to get on board. There was a huddle on the Senate floor yesterday. These things were being discussed, but we're not aware of any Republican that was saying we'll negotiate ahead of time. Potential that they might be able to get some consensus in the Senate for a shorter extension, but then you have to get it through the House. And the House, especially the Freedom Caucus, is not on board with extending these subsidies right now. So when Republicans say they'll negotiate later, it's far from a certainty that means something would get done. In the meantime, these two sides are at an impasse. Again, healthcare, even in Republican states, it's a big issue, but how they land that plane remains a mystery at this point in time, even though there's broad consensus that something could potentially get done.
Yeah, Kyle, we were discussing the real world impact of this. That if it's not being felt today, it might be tomorrow or next week. Can you help us answer? We were a little unclear about the benefits for women, infants, and children. It's known as WIC. Things like SNAP benefits, WIC benefits. Do you know if those are drying up next week?
So WIC applications are paused at this moment. So anyone new can't get into the system. Traditionally speaking, WIC runs out of money before SNAP benefits run out, which would be known as food stamps in an earlier time. That pot, I can't speak to next week, but that pot does run dry much faster than SNAP. And for those with longer memories, you'll remember that shutdown that started at the end of 2018, ran for 35 days into the beginning of January 2019. The straw that ultimately broke the camel's back, at that time, the president was demanding money for his border wall. Democrats were not ready to put that into a CR, was SNAP benefits. It was just on the cusp of SNAP benefits running out. That's one of those very broad impacts we'd see. Right now, most of the impacts are going to be contained to smaller groups, lesser effects. Certainly for federal workers that are paycheck to paycheck, they could be running into problems soon when that next paycheck doesn't arrive. Military paychecks due to stop on the 15th. So we'll see an escalation with each passing day, but certainly the biggest impacts are yet to come.
All right, Kyle Midura, we really appreciate you coming on PBS NewsHour. Good stuff.